You know, it's funny, most people say they want to be rich, but what they really mean is they want to look rich. The thing is, those two things are often pulling in completely opposite directions. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the key things that genuinely wealthy people actually avoid, because they get a fundamental truth. Building real wealth is a totally different game than just putting on a show.
Okay, let's get right into it. On one side, you've got all the symbols, right? The flashy car, the designer logos, the expensive dinners all over social media. That's the image of wealth. But on the other side, you have the substance. Assets that are actually growing and making you money. The freedom to wake up and decide what your day looks like. The power to truly own your time. One is a performance, the other is reality.
So that life of luxury you see online, a lot of the time, it's just theater. It's a carefully crafted performance put on to impress everybody else. And it's almost always financed by a mountain of debt. People are literally drowning financially while trying to convince the world they're living the dream. And this is where that whole illusion just shatters against cold, hard reality. I mean, just look at these numbers. These aren't just statistics. This paints a pretty staggering picture of a society where millions of people are living right on the edge of financial disaster. 37% of people are one flat tire away from a real crisis. 60% can't afford a new car. So, next time you see that flashy lifestyle, just remember, for a lot of folks, it's a house of cards that's one breeze away from collapsing.
Okay, so this brings us to the first, and maybe the most fundamental rule the truly rich live by. They focus their money on things that grow, not on things that just show. They're playing the long game, not chasing that short-term hit of validation.
Let's talk about what I call the silent killer of wealth, the new car. A brand new $25,000 car loses about 55% of its value in the first 5 years. That's more than 13 grand just gone, vanished into thin air. Think about that for a second. That's $13,000 you could have invested. In a simple index fund, that could have grown to over $40,000 in 10 years. So is the new car smell really worth 40 grand? The smart move? Let someone else pay for that smell. Buy a car that's 5 years old and invest the difference.
And it's the exact same logic with our technology. I once used an old iPhone until the apps literally just stopped working on it. Now I get it. Not everyone can do that, especially if your job depends on having the latest tech. But the principle here is universal. Don't upgrade for status, upgrade for utility. Is that new camera really going to make you more money, or is it just about showing off? A tool is just a tool. It's not a trophy.
So it all boils down to understanding this one critical distinction. Every single time you spend money, you're buying one of two things: an asset that's going to make you richer over time, or a liability that's going to make you poorer. The rich obsessively, relentlessly acquire assets. Pretty much everyone else accumulates liabilities. It really is that simple.
All right, now that we're clear on buying assets and not liabilities, let's get to our second rule. And I'm telling you, this one is controversial because it challenges the biggest liability that most people are absolutely convinced is their greatest asset, their own home.
I want you to really think about this for a second. We're all taught from a young age that buying a home is our greatest investment. But what if, for someone who's really aiming for true wealth, it's actually a giant liability? A cash-eating machine that just ties up all your capital and stops you from investing in things that can actually grow.
This is a direct quote from my son, Curtis. He'd saved up $70,000 and I suggested, hey, why don't you use that as a down payment on a house? He kind of pushed back, and he argued that his software company, which helps small businesses manage their finances, that was the real asset. It was already making money. So why, he asked me, would he trap his entire life savings in a property instead of just betting on himself?
And this just brilliantly shows you the power of that decision. He reinvested that 70 grand right back into his company, and today it generates about $1 million a year in revenue. See, he chose an asset that produces cash flow over a personal home that would have only produced bills. That one single choice changed his entire financial future.
Okay, so avoiding liabilities, that's the first step. But this next step is even more important. It's about cultivating the right mindset, because wealth isn't just built in your bank account, it's built right between your ears.
I want you to think of your career like you're at a fork in the road. Route A is that well-worn path, the golden handcuffs. Yeah, it's a good salary, but you're not really learning much. It leads to a comfortable, predictable, but ultimately stagnant life. Route B, well, that's the jungle. It's riskier, it's tougher, the pay is lower at first, but you're acquiring skills, you're getting ownership, your potential for growth is exponential. And I'll tell you this, every single millionaire I know started their journey in the jungle. Taking that path requires humility, which is where something called the iceberg principle comes in. See, arrogant people think they know everything. They only see that tiny little tip of the iceberg. But true growth, that happens when you realize that the vast majority of opportunity lies in what you don't know yet. For instance, you might be an expert in traditional marketing. That's the tip of your iceberg. But hidden right below the surface is this entire world of AI-driven marketing that's about to completely disrupt your industry. Arrogance blinds you to that change. Humility helps you master it.
And a huge part of that humility is about accountability. Man, for years, I was a master of the magnifying glass. If a project failed, I'd blame the economy, my clients, my employees, literally anyone but myself. Then I realized I was just making excuses. The second I put down that magnifying glass and picked up the mirror to take radical responsibility for my own results, everything changed. Blaming others is a dead end. The mirror, that's the path to growth.
Growth only happens when you step outside your comfort zone. Now, I know not everyone's path is going to look exactly like mine, from a carpentry apprentice to a business owner to a YouTuber. The specific steps don't really matter. The principle, though, is universal. You have to be willing to feel uncomfortable to grow. Your biggest opportunities are always waiting just on the other side of your fear.
So, let's turn this whole inner game into an actual action plan. First, stop asking for opinions and go hunt down a mentor who has actually done what you want to do. Second, declare war on distraction. Commit to one single, massive goal. Third, prioritize learning like your future depends on it, because, well, it does. And finally, never ever forget that the greatest asset you will ever have is you, so invest in yourself relentlessly.
We've talked about what to avoid and the mindset you need to adopt, but why? What is all this sacrifice and discipline actually for? I'll tell you right now, it's not about buying more stuff. The real payoff is something far, far more valuable.
This right here, this is the ultimate goal. Not the Lamborghini, not the mansion, it's the freedom. The freedom to work on projects you're actually passionate about, to spend time with the people you love, to wake up without an alarm clock and decide for yourself how you want to spend your day.
And that's really the core message of this whole explainer. If you take one thing away, let it be this. Stop trying to impress people who don't matter. Start building a life where you are in control. True wealth is measured in time and options, not in dollars and cents. It's all about internal freedom, not external validation.
So I'll leave you with this one last question to really reflect on. Take a hard look at your daily choices, your spending habits, your career path. Are they designed to build an impressive show for other people to see? Or are they the building blocks for a life of true, uncompromising freedom? The choice is yours.